Crystal Curley, present on behalf of the city. I'm here to address the Francisco Calderon matter, case number 646-576. Mr. Calderon is present in custody with counsel Mr. Moore. We also have Mr. Green present for probation. We are here today to address Mr. Calderon's failure to comply with his chemical dependency treatment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Calderon.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Stuart Moore here for Mr. Calderon.
Mr. Green, do you want to just clarify exactly what happened Tuesday after you went to treatment?
Yes, Your Honor, Jones Green for probation services. So at approximately 4:30 p.m., I contacted CMAR Treatment Agency to confirm that Mr. Calderon was there. And then they did confirm that he was there. And then shortly thereafter, about approximately an hour later, I got a phone call from them, from specifically the CD counselor there, telling me that Mr. Calderon had left the facility. They subsequently sent me a letter verifying that he had left treatment.
I guess the question initially is, there some explanation for why Mr. Calderon left treatment?
Well, there is, Your Honor. When he, and we acknowledge that that is what happened.
In fact, you dropped him off at what time?
Oh, it was probably about 10 a.m. And so when he got there, he was going through the intake process. He went through the intake process that day at the center. It was clear to me on the ride over that Mr. Calderon felt overwhelmed by the experience of being outside out of custody. He noted multiple times, to me seemingly spontaneously, that everything was so loud that he was having trouble focusing on any one particular thing. And I think what he wants to indicate today is, yes, he left. He got overwhelmed with the process and kind of what was in front of him. And he also started hearing voices and having certain influences from his mental health situation basically obstructed him from thinking clearly. So that is what happened, Your Honor. And that's Mr. Calderon's side of the story with how he experienced that day being released to me and my social worker, Ms. Dryden, going over there and talking about the process and what it would be like, and talking about what kind of supports that were available. But at the same time, from my perspective, it was a situation where it was going to be pretty difficult for him to overcome those mental health issues and honestly engage with a chemical dependence process. Because I think when the court has seen a lot of people experience the treatment process, it's a very introspective process. You have to be honest about what issues you're facing. You have to have a pretty clear mind about where you've been, the troubles you've had, where you want to go in life. And I think for a person who, hasn't really been he hasn't had the opportunity to even get a good diagnosis. Mental health assessment was one of the things that we wanted to happen here. It was not able to happen in time for us here at the jail, this being kind of a chemical dependency focused process.
Okay, well, Mr. Calderon has been through Department of Corrections 14 times. He's been through our probation at least 3 times. Are you raising competency at this point? Or are you saying Mr. Calderon's not competent?
No, Your Honor, I don't have concerns about his ability to understand. I do have concerns about how able he is to honestly engage in a chemical dependence treatment process without first taking care of psychiatric issues, potential PTSD, and medicine which helps treat those symptoms so that a person can be in a better mental place to honestly engage with the chemical dependency process. That's just what I think happened here, just by way of explaining to the court.
wanna respond?
I do, Your Honor. I have a hard time swallowing that explanation as the attorney that prepared this case for trial, and having had this case since the incident happened in July, I've reviewed footage and officers' contact with Mr. Calderon over and over and over again. He
How
would
can you
not.
say that?
Mr.
I haven't
Calderon,
been in this court that many times. I don't understand how she can sit there and say that.
Mr. Calderon, first of all, please do not speak out until the court asks you questions. Secondly, if you heard what she said she reviewed the footage of you interacting with police. That means she was looking at the evidence of the case.
It just upset me.
Your Honor, after reviewing that footage, I see Mr. Calderon in surveillance videos, testimony of witnesses who said he was acting out. He was being aggressive towards individuals. But any time a person with any authority, namely men or police officers, stepped in, he snapped right to and was compliant and behaved and knew right from wrong and knew what to do. In fact, he tells police officers in the video, "Can I just get another chance? I promise I won't cause any more trouble if you just let me out and walk around." So he has the capacity to know what is right and wrong. So I find that explanation very hard to understand when he decided to leave treatment. The city, would the court like me to proceed with the recommendation?
Sure, although I wonder if Mr. Green has any additional, I know you weren't expecting to fully staff this case today, but do you have any additional information about what sort of mental health evaluation? I know that previously probation has suggested be evaluated, but he also has been in the court system for many, many years. I find it hard to believe there hasn't been evaluations, nor, I would point out that Mr. Moore, this counsel, stressed the need to have a mental health evaluation before his release last week. That's not been a part of our conversation as I recall. But Mr. Green, do you have anything?
No, I don't necessarily have anything more to add, Your Honor, but I do convey sentiments to the city, and that I think that, well, I guess, Your Honor, too, that Mr. Calderon has had numerous opportunities through the Department of Corrections and through the city, the probation department, to access mental health treatment. So I don't feel like this is something new, that he hasn't had the ability to access treatment in the past.
I'd like to respond, Your Honor, if possible.
All right, briefly.
Your Honor, counsel for the city had an issue that, on our position, that there were, just our position was characterized as him not understanding right from wrong. And then when she watched the body-worn video, it was clear he knew right from wrong. We're agreeing with that. I'm not saying he doesn't know right from wrong. Otherwise, I would raise competency to stand trial. I think he does know that. He has mental barriers that are different than just simply knowing right from wrong. I mean, things like PTSD, I'm not sure he has been diagnosed. And I would doubt that Mr. Green has that information available. So I don't want the court to think that this was us saying he didn't know right from wrong. He does, he just has mental impediments to that. The second thing I want to note is that I did last week propose that he first go to Sound Health for the ORCS program intake. And for that, I know the court did not trust him to make it to treatment, and I acknowledge that, but that was in line with our position here, that we had to take care of the mental health situation first in order for him to be more successful at chemical dependency treatment. And I'm not taking away the personal accountability that is part of the calculus here, but I'm just saying it's a factor when he has untreated mental health issues that continue to go on. It prevents, I mean, is anyone going to disagree? It makes it less likely that a person is going to be successful at chemical dependency treatment?
Mr. Moore, I believe that he's already connected with the work system. I also believe that he has been connected to Sound Mental Health before. Your proposal last week was to release him from the jail and have him go on his own to ORCS on a Monday and not show up to treatment until Wednesday. The court said it would not allow him to release to anybody except someone who would be transporting him specifically to inpatient. And that obviously has been proven out here. The court would also note that yet.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, Mr. Calderon.
I just wanted to know that I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. The other thing I would point out is that at 1:30 last Tuesday, when you indicated that he'd made it down there, you didn't provide the court with any information that you had concerns about his competency at that point. And competency is not just about whether he knows right from wrong. If he he's hearing voices, that's potentially an issue that suggests he's not able to, that his ability to aid in his defense, which can be more than just literally the defense of trial, is in jeopardy. Ms. Curley, do you want to respond though to?
Just briefly, Your Honor, in the last case, and I was looking for the case number, but the last case where the court imposed a year, he did have a pre-sentencing report done. I believe that's still in the portal. I don't believe that there was any diagnosis in there. I think the only thing that indicated a mental health diagnosis was depression. Mr. Moore has that. The court has that. He's had multiple opportunities, and in fact, we have a pre-sentencing report from the last time he was sentenced in this court.
I do have
I'm
a
sorry,
copy.
I apologize, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon.
I just wanted to know that I'm sorry for these things.
I think she's heard that, but I appreciate that.
Your Honor, that's one of the problems here, is that I think that's clearly not the extent of the mental health issues here. And if we think that it's just depression going on in terms of mental health, and if we got a doctor in here to assess him that there wouldn't be additional diagnosis, that's not true. He would have additional diagnosis, and I think that's why this remains untreated mental health as a big factor here in terms of what's happening.
The probation report that the prosecutor is referring to is dated January 8th of 2019. It indicates, and this is the report where previously it was recommended he do treatment. Mr. Calderon stated he was diagnosed with depression in 2009, which he has been taking prescription medication for. He mentioned working with Sound Mental Health during his recent period of supervision with DLC beginning in 2014 and was in and out of treatment. Additionally, Mr. Calderon stated he continued to see a psychiatrist on a regular basis, reporting last seeing one approximately 2 months ago. He reportedly continues taking prescribed medication and did not report any history of self-threat. Mr. Calderon stated he was reporting to Sound's Capitol Hill location daily and meeting with counselors Jacqueline and Fred prior to his most recent arrest. Probation was not able to verify any of that. So it does appear that he is connected to Sound Mental Health according to his own report. He obviously has been in custody a lot since then.
About 17 months, I believe, or over a year at this point. So it's been a long time since he actually had connection to those resources. And that's the situation where we were putting him, and I'm not saying this wasn't, treatment. We proposed treatment, and so we did want that to happen. But as he took off from here in the jail and went into chemical dependency treatment, the connections that the court references right here, those are not enough to take care of the issues that he was facing on the day that he went to treatment, because he hadn't had connection recently to those resources.
All right, Madam Prosecutor.
So, Your Honor, the city is requesting that the court revoke all remaining jail time. The city has no other option. It is clear at this point that Mr. Calderon is either unwilling or unable to change. Sending Mr. Calderon to jail for the remainder of his sentence isn't the city's first choice, because Mr. Calderon will be no better and no safer than he is now. And to be clear, he will be released. The city can't lock him up forever. Our jurisdiction is limited to 1 year, and that's what the city will ask that he be doing. While jail is a deterrent for some individuals, it's not a deterrent for Mr. Calderon. And we are forced to address his needs without the proper facilities to do so. Unfortunately, our options are limited to outpatient treatment, and because lockdown facilities do not exist in Washington State. That was the first option that our office went to when discussing Mr. Calderon, but they do not exist for him. There is no place that will lock him down. The only way he will ever be safe in the community is to stop using drugs and get help for the issues that long-term drug use has had on his body and his mind. It is disappointing, to say the least, that we saw Mr. Calderon here asking the court to give him another chance and asking for help, and then to watch him walk away from treatment that he desperately needs. The closest alternative is what we attempted to do, was to release him to inpatient treatment and to heavily monitor it, which we did, and thanks to Mr. Green, we were able to get that warrant out immediately before anyone else was harmed. So ultimately, Your Honor, our only option at this point is to incarcerate Mr. Calderon, so at the very least, the public will be safe.
Do we have any information about how he was apprehended?
We do, Your Honor, I do, and I can hand that forward if the court so wishes. He was picked up by the Tukwila Police Department. They got a call of Mr. Calderon harassing individuals in the mall parking lot and in the restaurant parking lot. They were gonna have him trespass. They responded to that, and upon finding out who he was and finding out that there was a warrant out for his arrest, he was arrested.
And do we know what time he was picked up? Or when?
He was, so the warrant was issued on the morning of the 20th. He was picked up, it looks like at 8:12 p.m. that evening. So from the time the warrant issued to the time he was arrested was approximately 12 hours.
Is there any indication that he used drugs during that time frame? Or that he was on any sort of illicit drugs?
Here, I can hand forward the report if the court would like. I provided it to defense counsel. It indicates that he was acting aggressively towards patrons. But that's all the information I have. It's a very short report.
All right, Mr. Moore?
Your Honor, we're asking the court to impose 90 days instead of the remainder of the time, and to either allow us another chance at this time some kind of mental health treatment plan that we could come up with in the meantime. In the alternative, we think 90 days, in addition to the time he spent, would be an appropriate sentence for this case, acknowledging he has lengthy criminal history and the circumstances we have today are not appealing in terms of sentencing overall. But I would ask the court to take into account he spent about 40 years on the streets of Seattle and the nearby areas. He has issues to deal with that are not typical of your average person, of your average homeless person. He's not the face of every homeless person out there. He's not the face of everybody on 3rd Avenue. He's his own person, and he has more complex problems than 99% of the people here. I know the court and the city feel like they have run out of options. That said, I think some recognition of his unique obstacles and the fact that he very likely does have untreated mental health issues, we'd ask the court to impose 90 additional days and suspend the rest.
Mr. Calderon, is there anything you would like to say?
Just say I'm sorry for what happened. I tried to say the treatment, but I didn't. And I think 17 months in jail is quite a long time to do. I haven't had any infractions. I don't get in fights. I just keep to myself. I haven't had a problem with the jail at all. I'd like to go home someday. Back to Bremerton. I don't really like King County anymore. It's been a long time since I've been home to my family. I'd like to go home to my family someday.
All right. So Mr. Calderon, I have to say this is a very disappointing, frustrating situation for you, for your attorney, who took extraordinary steps by driving you down to treatment on Tuesday. It's very unusual for a defense counsel to do that, not because they don't necessarily want to, but usually there's other people. But Mr. Moore was really trying to give you the best leg up possible by driving you down to treatment last week. The city obviously was trying to give you that, so was the court. As Madam Prosecutor's indicated, I know people have asked me, or I've heard comments like, well, why don't we just lock you into a secure facility? And as Madam Prosecutor indicated, there's no funding for such security inpatient treatment. There used to be, but there isn't anymore. So there's no way to send you to a treatment facility that will not allow you to leave. In addition, actually, advocates on all sides, from the prosecutor's office, defense counsel, social workers, have advocated for treatment inside the jail. I believe our own presiding judge, Judge McKenna, had recommended that perhaps the unused portions of the jail could be adapted for an inpatient facility. But there's been no funding provided for that option. That would be a really valuable option for probation and for folks, so that we could get you into treatment while you're in the jail and hopefully help transition you out through monitoring. But that's not up to the court, that's up to King County Council and City Council to provide funding for it. So at the end of the day, we're left with how do we keep the community safe and how do we keep you safe? And I think the only alternative at this point is to just give you the maximum jail time that's available, which is 364 days. I think it's important for the public to understand that under the revised Code of Washington, 9.94A.729, that there's a strong likelihood you'll be getting good time and that you'll only serve 2/3 of that sentence. It's not up to the court to make that determination. It's up to correctional facilities like King County Jail. So in all likelihood, you'll be released in 8 months if they make that determination, as opposed to 12 months. I just think it's important for people to understand that that's beyond that the court's not involved in that process at all and has no authority to change that. So, I mean, the fact that you would get out and you would walk away and then be harassing people who are just going about their business, that's ultimately the issue the court needs to try to address. And I don't think, the sad thing is every time you get out within about 24, 48 hours or whatever the time frame is, you tend to commit another crime, and we have to hope that we won't do that when we get released. The court's certainly willing to set a hearing to try to facilitate some sort of release structure when he gets out at the end of his time, if the defense thinks that would be useful. But my understanding is that he's pretty well connected to services over the years, and he just simply chooses or is incapable of following through on the connection. So the court will impose the remainder, it's 184 days, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And strike active probation, that's over. I know your sister has publicly made statements about wanting you to get help. That was in the last probation report, and her fear that you're going to get hurt if you're just on the streets. But I don't know anything else to do other than try to keep the community safe at the same time as keeping you safe, quite frankly.
Your Honor, if we have anything additional, we'll submit a motion to the court.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does he need to sign?
So he doesn't need to see the bailiff?
He doesn't need to see.
Oh.
Okay.
Still you need to-